Hi, it's Pam, your RXHair Fix Doc. Wherever this moment, time, and space finds you, I invite and welcome you to listen, learn, and glean from this impactful podcast. These segments are here to help address many issues we face on a daily basis. We're here to share and have those deep conversations as it relates to the whole person, you. Our conversations may be challenging, but you will benefit from them all. We answer and deal with the hard questions as it pertains to you. So grab a cup of coffee and a light snack and let's chat. Are you someone who wants to look your best but struggles to find the time or even the resources to really address it? You're not alone. Many people face the same challenge of balancing their busy lives with self-care. This podcast will help to address all that pertains to self-care. We are all hearing about self-care. Some are trying to understand it. With simple clarity, understanding, self-care, which also involves hair care, all of it must be taken seriously. But don't worry, I'm suggesting a system and solutions that can help you achieve the goal, the look that you're looking for without breaking the bank, without taking too much of your time. Who has time? None of us do. Starting now. We have to start with my story. I bet you can relate. It's personal and dear to my heart. Only now I'm releasing the truth as it pertains to my life and myself, as it pertains to self-care. One thing about self-care, because we keep hearing it, we keep revisiting it. We see it in social media, we read about it in magazines and books. Self-care seems to be a hot topic. For me, self-care is a hot topic as well. The main reason I wanted to initially start this podcast off with self-care is because if we can't live and deal with ourselves, the caring part is short-lived. So, in talking with different people, I have realized they really don't understand what self-care is. I was actually talking with someone earlier this morning, and they just went through an extensive means, or I should say, they are finally addressing serious issues that they've had within themselves. It's the big C word. And initially, I asked the hard questions like I will do throughout this podcast and in different segments. So in asking, I asked her, when you first realized that you had to deal with this issue that was going on within your body, which is cancer, and when your hair started coming out, what was that like? Because I've never had to deal with it, but she was now dealing with it. And me being a hair loss specialist, I said, let me ask you some hard questions. I don't want nothing biblical. I don't want nothing rehearsed. I need you to speak and deal with this issue and this question that I'm going to ask you from the heart. When you initially started losing your hair, what was your initial human reaction? And she began with, well, I didn't get into faith. And I said, here we go. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, what was your initial human reaction? A lot of us, we believe in God. We believe in the Holy Spirit. We believe that God is real. We believe we are to walk by faith. Yeah. Okay, but I wanted to hear from the heart, deep within yourself. What was your initial reaction when you stood in that shower and you washed your hair and you realized this stuff, which is cancer, which is chemo, or maybe some of you may be having to go through radiation? What is the initial reaction when you realize I am losing my hair? And the response was, I cried. And I said, that's it. That's what I wanted to hear, because that is a human reaction. And this all involves self-care. Sorry. So once we begin to have a real conversation, that's when I realized, when dealing with ourselves and dealing with self-care, we have to go deep, and we have to go deep within, because for those of you who are wearing wigs, some of us have to, but some of us don't. And we're wearing wigs and we're wearing weaves because we have not accepted deep within who we are. And in dealing with self-care, you will love who you are. Your hair is your hair. You were born with it. It wasn't a mistake. And you need to learn, or should learn, I would say, how to deal with you, how to love yourself, which to me is the definition of self-care. Okay, so like I was saying, we all have a hair journey and or a hair story. And like myself, I will begin with mine. Some of us are on this hair care journey, and some of us have considered to be finished with our hair care journey, but some of us are still struggling through it. Well, I'm here to help. For those of you who are newly addressing different hair and scalp issues, and for those of you who have adopted and accepted this self-care, I call it a movement because we're hearing it in so many different places. Some things are fads. I don't really consider this a fad because we live with ourselves every day and we take care of ourselves every day. So depending on what levels of care we take, some take supplements, some eat right, some exercise, whatever your definition of self-care, I want to start with what's in here. Self-care within yourself, loving you, learning to accept you for who you are. So I would like to know and address, how are you really? Look deep within yourself and answer this question. How are you really? You don't have to share how you really are feeling with others. It may not be up for discussion unless you want it to be, because some people, they just like to tell it all. But sometimes we have to go deep within ourselves and have that conversation within ourselves. And I am a Christian. I do believe in what people call the higher power, but I would say God. And I do believe that we all have this intuition. And when I say intuition, a lot of people believe that this is them telling themselves this. No, it's not. But we'll get into that a little later. But I really would like to share my hair care journey with you all. And I have some bullet points to keep me strategically on point, because I can go in many directions with any type of conversation, especially when it deals with hair care, self-care, hair and scalp issues. See, I'm already doing it. So we're going to bring it back in. So let's deal with you, the person. Let's start with me, the person. I'm here. Let's chat. Now, my story begins just like any other hair care journey begins. It started with a disaster. And it's so funny how it always takes a lot of times. I'm not going to say every time, but a lot of times it takes pain to push us into purpose. Well, this pain pushed me into purpose, which is everything hair care, everything natural based products. Pain caused this. Okay, so we're going to take it all the way back to the beginning. The Bible starts with in the beginning. So I'm going to start with in the beginning, as will you start with in your beginning. So believe it or not, I stuttered, and I stuttered basically all my life. I started stuttering when I was 8. Now remember, we're going deep. Okay. So at 8 years old, I was off with cousins and family members and things like that. And something tragic happened. And it was a group of us. And tragically, this particular day, this situation happened. And me being 8, I didn't know anything about what 8-year-olds know today. 8-year-olds back when, like in the 70s, I'm kind of dating myself, but that's fine. 8-year-olds, we didn't know what 8-year-olds know today. And me being 8, again, I'm just relating, back in the day, I didn't know certain things. Whatever happened to me that particular day, it was I don't want to say an atrocity. Okay. I have a disclaimer. I have a big issue with using big words, but I like to try to use them. So if I say big word, that means I'm struggling. Okay, back to the story. Now, 8 years old, group of children, we're playing, we're having fun, and all the lights go out. And when all the lights go out, when I say this room was so dark, I could not see my hand in front of my face. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling hands and stuff all over me. And I didn't know like what was happening. And I don't mean like on my clothes. I'm talking on my skin. It's hands, it's fingers. I didn't know what was happening. But the following morning, I woke up. And I had a few scratches on me in some places that I won't even mention, but I didn't know. I was like, wow, what happened? And so I went in the kitchen to tell my mom what had happened the day before. And I go in the kitchen and I go to say, Ma, and I got stuck with and she was cooking breakfast and she stood up. We have an aunt who stutters and we have a cousin who stutters. So now I'm in the kitchen, 8 years old, and I'm trying to say mommy, and the M sound would not come out. And I'm in the kitchen, and she stood up and she beat me. We didn't get spankings back then. We got beatings, okay? She spanked me right there on the spot. And from that moment on, from I was 8 until years later, I stuttered. And I stuttered to the point where I was told in school, like when you went to college, that you would have to be in groups. I didn't want to go to college because I didn't want to have to do group study and group projects, and that one-on-one factor for me was not ideal. I did do some college, but again, as soon as the professor started making us do study groups, or the different students wanted to do study groups, I was like, oh no, this is not for me, because of fear. Okay. And the older I got, my stuttering got worse. And I did go through speech therapy and all of that other kind of stuff. It didn't work, but it got me out of class. And that's what I enjoyed about going to speech therapy. But fast forward, I was able to finally release what initially happened. We was at one of our family gatherings, and whoever the person was apologized. They called out me and another cousin, and they apologized. And this is where the F word comes into play. Okay? Seriously, the F word, okay? This is when it comes into play. So he, in front of the whole family, begins to apologize to me and my other cousin. And I'm saying, no, I know you're not going to do this. I know this is, no, please. I know you're not about to do this in front of everybody. And he apologized for whatever happened, for whatever went on and things like that. And that particular night, this is when I had to choose to forgive. And this all pertains to self-care, because self-care starts with dealing with the hard issues deep within. And I drove home. We lived about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, because we lived in Miami. And I realized that I had to forgive this person. Days went on, and I was like, no, I don't. No. Forget him. Okay. No, I am not doing it. And I realized that I needed to forgive him. And about 2 weeks later, within myself, again, it was not up for discussion, nor did I want to talk about it, nor did I want to share it with anybody else, but within myself, again, self-care, I forgave. And I told myself, like some of you need to tell yourself, it's time to forgive. It's time to let it go. It's time to release it. It's time to get over what happened. It doesn't dismiss what happened, but it does free you as a person. And when I really, in my heart of hearts, forgave, oh my gosh, as I began to talk, not realizing it, I was with some people, and we were having a conversation, and they was like, Pam, you're not stuttering. And I said, that's because I forgave. And they was like, what are you talking about? This is not up for discussion. So moving forward, my speech got better, and I was able to go on with life. Now, before that, we're going to back it up just a little bit, because before I forgave, I still had, I was 36 years old when I forgave. I created my product line, believe it or not, about 4 years before I finally forgave. So back to my hair journey. So I'm at home. I'm a natural redhead, and I went through that salt and pepper phase. All of you know salt and pepper, with this one side short and the one side long and the blonde hair. Guess what? I wanted to have blonde hair. Just like all of us, when we have long hair, we want it short. When you have curly hair, you want it straight. When you have, wavy hair, you want it straight. When you have black hair, you want it red. When you have red hair, you want it blonde. So I went to the store and grab and do like a lot of us do, grab the bleach, and I came back home, mixed it up, and guess what? Put it on my hair, and my sister calls, and we get on the phone, and we're talking, and after about an hour, okay, strangely enough, it was not burning on my scalp, because I didn't put it on my scalp. I just put it on my hair. And so I started smelling ammonia. And I told my sister, I said, girl, the children are in the bathroom playing with ammonia. I was like, let me go get these children. And so I run into the bathroom. Nobody's in the bathroom. And I look in the mirror, and guess what? I remembered that I was bleaching my hair. And my sister, she's a type where you can't say, okay, girl, let me call you back. So I said, Robin, I got this bleach on my hair. Let me call you back. She says, hold on, I got to tell you one more thing. And I'm on the phone. Okay, quick. I said, okay. I got to rinse the stuff out. Hold on. I got to tell you something else. I'm like, girl. So anyway, when I rinsed the bleach out of my hair, guess what? I rinsed my hair out, which would propel me into this all natural hair care product line and thing that my journey that I was propelled into, I guess I want to say. So anyway, once I realized that a chemical took my hair out, that's when I knew that I needed to do something not chemical. I didn't want a perm. I didn't want no type of chemicals in my hair anymore. So I prayed the prayer. The Bible said that we can pray the whatsoever prayer. Okay. And so I said, okay, because I had been to church earlier that this particular day and the Bible study and the pastor was preaching on, you can ask God whatsoever, he will answer your prayer. I'm like, really? I said, well, I have a whatsoever kind of prayer because we got to tackle this mess right here. So I was like, Lord, I need you to help me fix my hair. This is a whatsoever prayer in Jesus' name. And so got up and I was like, okay, I'm, like, what are we doing? So anyway, go to my mom's house a few weeks later, and she had this book. And this book was Back to Eden. I'm sure all of us have seen the book or heard about the book. It's a book that has 972 pages. 972 pages is little. And I said, who in the world sat down and wrote 972 pages? So my mom said, Pam, one of my students gave it to me. My mom taught nursing. And so she said, you can have it if you want it. If not, just throw it in the garbage. So I'm looking in the book, and I'm saying, who would write 972? I said, there are no pictures in this book. It's just all words. I wasn't reading that. Anyway, my curiosity, it just kept spewing in my head. It just kept, that's not the right word, but it kept turning over in my head, 972 pages. I said, well, let me see what this book is about. So the book helps you with headaches, gout, if you need like anything to deal with breastfeeding, stomach aches, just anything about the body. And I was like, well, I wonder if there's something in here about hair. So I looked in the back of the book, and sure enough, there were 17 things. I didn't know what they were, so I had to call them things. There were 17 words, okay, 17 items, 17 something on hair. And I looked down, and then it was hair loss. And I said, oh, so I started writing down. Oh my goodness. Okay. Just everything. One was rosemary, one was lavender, one was horsetail, one was coltsfoot, sage, burdock root. I mean, it's 17. So I began to now look and research each and every word. And so I'm sitting there and I'm getting so excited. And so I said, now how will I find these things? I said, you know what? I'm going to call 411. They give you information, right? Because back then, for those of you who don't know, we could call 411 and they would want city, state, and listing. Okay. So I needed information. So I say, let me call 411. So I called 411. I say, hi. I said, okay, the city is Miami and the listing is horsetail, rosemary, coltsfoot, nettle, lavender. And the operator says, you need a vitamin store. And I said, vitamin store? What? I say, no, I don't need a, she was like, you need a vitamin store. So she says, where do you live? And she said, I tell you what, I see 22 vitamin stores. I'm going to call off each address and you would tell me which one is closer to you. Now, all of you all who remember 411, y'all know those operators did not do that. That's how I knew that looking back, I know that this was God working on my behalf. And we went through all those lists until she hit 163rd Street. I said, oh, that's near me. I'm about 5 miles from there. She gave me the number and I called. The man answered the phone. His name was Barry. I said, hi, I need cosefoot, nettle, horsetail, rosemary. And he says, you must be having hair or scalp issues. And from that moment, I knew this would be my plot this would be the plot for my life. So I went up, I met him at the vitamin store. I spent 3 hours with him. We went through each and every one, and he told me all about it. And once he told me all about each one and how to use them and how to apply them, one thing he did miss. But once he went over that with me, I knew that I had something that would help my hair issue, and I knew that God had answered my prayer. And so after doing that, I went home, put everything in a pot. And once I put it all in a pot, I boiled it and I let it cool. And when it cooled, it was a gel. It was a gel at the bottom and oil on top. I was amazed. That was my first product. But anyway, we're talking about self-care and how different tragedies will propel you into where you need to be and who you need to become. So in dealing with this part of life, I'm able now to look back and see and understand how tragedies don't have to be a tragedy. Tragedy is there for a purpose. We are to give thanks in all things. When we're in it at the moment, we don't see it that way. But guess what? When you grow and you live a little longer, you can look back and you can actually see that work together for my good. And a lot of situations that we experience and a lot of things in life that we're just not ready to deal with. At the moment, you may not be able to handle the situation that you're faced with, but guess what? It's not going to kill you and it's not going to take you out because it's going to propel you into the next you. It's going to cause you to be the best you that you can be. And for me, this is the initial start of self-care, dealing with the deep issues that's in us. And sometimes it's not even that deep, but we end up making it that deep because there are other things that we haven't addressed in life. And sometimes people make different comments to us and we respond with such anger. Sometimes you have to revisit, why did I get so mad because they said that? Again, that's dealing with self-care. A lot of times we look at self-care as in how we look, how my hair looks and all of that. All of that's important. But my first situation, my first illustration, demonstration, I don't know which word I should be using right here, but the first thing I wanted to address was self-care. And self-care that deals with you, deep within you. And in doing this, we're able to move forward in life. We're able to address the smaller and the minor issues in life. And once we understand that everything starts with who we are inside, who we are and who we want to become, once we can deal with it and once we can address it, we are on the way to true dealing with self-care. Okay, so this is Pam, your RX Hair Fix Doc. I'm closing out. See you next time. We will continue to address and deal with the hard questions and issues as it pertains to you and your hair and scalp, because hair and scalp correlates. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, after you like, after you share, after you subscribe, put a comment, put a question. Oh, and visit us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, and I hope to see you there.